me make sure I'm online. Okay. Hello, I'm Alex from A.P.Ink. So today I'm going to be picking up where I left off last time, which I've been still working on a project I started in May, uh, creating chibi characters and different scenes from Disney's The Little Mermaid, the original animated movie from 1989. So today I want to work on a backdrop for their wedding. Um, Ariel and Eric, and then one that might work also for Vanessa and Eric, which, for what I can make out, both weddings happened on a boat, but the backdrop for this one is so much more, I want to say, juvenile looking with whatever's going on in the background here than the backdrop that Ariel and Eric had. Um, Thinking about it now, I didn't think to actually look up a reference for the podium that the minister or priest or whatever stood at. Um, but I figured between this backdrop and this backdrop, maybe I could come up with something similar. Okay, so that's your reference with a grid on it for both of these references. And I put a grid on it to try to keep things, at least an attempt at symmetry. So I'm going to start here. I've got a piece of mixed media paper, a 2H pencil. I'm going to lightly put a grid on this paper, just inch by inch squares. Now, I do figure that this is probably going to be a multi-session piece. I'm going to focus on just trying to get the layout down this time. I'm sure there are design reasons as to why Vanessa's backdrop looks so much different than Ariel. Like, and probably just me thinking too much into it. Ariel, I think, spends more time in the human world than Vanessa. Vanessa has to trick Eric, and I think she cast some kind of spell on him. Maybe I'm wrong on that part, but maybe because Vanessa or Ursula doesn't spend as much time in the human world as Ariel. Maybe that's why her backdrop looks kind of messy. Or, like I said before, kind of juvenile. Okay. So, like I said, I want to try to take elements from both of these backdrops and kind of meld them into one scene. So, this won't actually be accurate to either of these scenes, but maybe, hopefully, it'll still get the point across. So I was thinking, just to start with, to maybe try to frame this, I would try to put in these pillars. So maybe here, here, to kind of try to start to frame in the scene. And I'm going to try to put in the greenery that's growing. Zooming in on the top of the posts, pillars, whatever, to try to guess what the bottom of these posts look like. See, I want to say that most of the pillars that I've seen like this, they get kind of decorative at the top, which the decoration on these posts, pillars, whatever, seems kind of um simplistic, but the bottom, at least for the ones I've seen, can get kind of like boxy, like an actual box type structure. But because I don't know what they've done here, because both pillars are obscure, I'm not sure if I should just keep it straight all the way down, because that can be a thing as well, I think. Okay, so these are inch by inch. So I think to try and center this in the inch, I'll go in, excuse me, I'll go in 1/4 of an inch. And then I'm not going to take it all the way to the top because there is kind of a horizontal arch that kind of goes around. So it would like wrap around this way. And that might be a fun detail to try and depict. And I think just to keep these roughly the same, I'm going to take it down, I think 1/4 of an inch. So take it down and take it up, down from the top and up from the bottom, so that I have room to try to put in this kind of ringed top. I don't know what to call it. I hope you guys can actually see the reference. If not, I can switch it out in a minute for the images without the grids. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So marking roughly a 1/2 inch space. And then from there, marking up a 1/2 inch from the bottom and down a 1/2 inch from the top. And then for the top bit, I think for the space that I've left myself here, it's going to be a bit too tight to try to fit 3 kind of rounded um, I don't know what to call them. I'm going to split the space in half. Sharpen my pencil really quick. Okay, and then to try and put in this kind of horizontal arch at the top to sit on top of these pillars. Using a plastic ruler, this might not be the best choice because you could break the ruler, but using this point here and this point here to try and gently bend the ruler between those 2 points as a guide, if I can make it stay. So, and this might not look like the arch here, but to use this far point here and this far point here to do the same thing, to try to gently bend the ruler without breaking it, hopefully. That might work the same for a metal ruler, but metal rulers might not be as flexible. Okay, I'm not sure where the ink came from. Okay. Um, I mean, it does look kind of funny, and maybe that's not quite the right angle, but I tried. Just gonna kind of trace along this top line to create that side edge to give this some depth. Okay, both of these have stairs. There's stairs leading up to Ariel and Eric, and there's stairs behind Vanessa and Eric. So I'm thinking to try and create some stairs here. Looks like there's 3 stairs there, and there might be 3 stairs. 3 or 2 stairs here. I think 3. I'm tempted to put 4 stairs here. And then I'm just gonna square up the sides here. try and make this look a bit more like stairs, even though you're looking at it from straight on. Okay, I do want to still try to put in the greenery that's wrapped around these pillars before I get too far. The slope of the angle is not quite as severe as what I was going to go for. Okay, so I think just to try to keep this uniform, I think I'm going to try to cut each of these segments into 3 parts. So I have like a destination point, I guess, to try to aim the wrapped greenery. To actually segment an inch into 3 and not 4. Let's see if my brain can figure it out. I'll be right back. Okay, so this side, the coil is kind of going up this way. I want to try to kind of mirror it coming up this way. I'm just going to swap the marks that I made on this side here. I think that'll help. Okay, not really liking how this arch is looking. So maybe to lean in more towards Vanessa's background here. So at the top of whatever this thing is behind him, there is a top here. The top of like a wall, maybe with some sort of finial at the end. And it looks like it goes in straight and then kind of domes here. I could try something like that here instead of this arch. Okay, so I think to keep this semi-symmetrical, I'll use a ruler. So whatever finials are on top here might be kind of egg-shaped. I want to try to keep this all on the page. So I'm not sure about these kind of ball finials that I drew here. I might change those, but what I'm doing is 2 squares in on both sides. I'm splitting the squares in half and then going up a 1/2 inch to try to start the kind of dome in the center here. And I'm just using these marks so I can try to arch the top before drawing a line straight across. And I think to give it a little depth, I'm going to make it a double line. Give the kind of molding around the top here some depth. I'm tempted, so at the top here, there's like a flag in the center. Hopefully you guys can see that flag there, to put it in the center here, and then going back to this one to put in this kind of draping, awning. Hopefully you guys can see. I'm considering putting these into the red flags, so it could be kind of stacked. So to have this flag let me go back to the references without the grids. Okay, maybe you guys can see this better. So this flag here, have it in the center, and then to put in this kind of draping awning here, and then maybe find a spot for these two flags. Put in okay. So there's like a gold, potentially gold, border around this flag. I'm gonna put that in here. And then put in the kind of checkerboard color block going on here, where this will be the almost kind of teal looking blue, and then the kind of cherry or burgundy color. But in this square here, it looks like there's a crown, maybe. I can't quite make it out. It it almost looks like an acorn kind of shape. An acorn, or maybe like a heart shape. Okay, and then for the drapey part, for this reference, I think to kind of mirror this top part here, I'm gonna have this center drapey bit kind of mirror this top part here. So it'll come down this way. So like that. And then to tie in these pink flags, could have them here. Because of the angle, it does look like this one is longer, but I'm fairly certain that they're probably the same height or length. It's just the kind of side angle. I don't know, I could vary the height of it just to add a bit more interest. Create this kind of layered look. And I think for the space here on either side of the flag and pillar to create more of this kind of drape. So this is roughly an inch. I think I'm going to bring this down a little bit more, make it about 1.25 inches. And then here, to mirror that 1.25 inch space, or to have this kind of center one hanging down more than the two side ones. Try and have some symmetry here. So that's cutting the inch squares in the center so that the drape will come down to meet that point on either side. Just putting in a point where I think that rounded shape should start on either side. I think I'll broaden that a bit more, so instead of having a single point, I'll have maybe 2 points. I just want it to look more rounded than pointed. So kind of like that. Okay, there's what looks like a gold border around these pink flags too. So I'm going to put that in. Just mirroring the line that's already there for the edge of the flag. Maybe an eighth of an inch or so. From the edge. I'm thinking, I don't know if you guys can make out the pink, the lighter lines and the pink. I think that's just meant to be like the fabric is shiny. So these are just like shiny highlights. So I think it's just pink flags. Okay, and then I think a quarter of an inch in on the same squares as the pink flags. That's where I'm gonna put in more of the swoopy drape here. I do want to make the drape actual kind of like puddle towards the bottom here. So maybe bring it down to about a quarter of an inch here, so like straight down. I'm gonna freehand it though. Kind of really try to frame the center. and then have the fabric kind of puddle more at the bottom or base of the stairs. I think I'll use this grid line here on either side for the potential edge of the drapes. And then I think maybe at each step, I might have to look up, excuse me, look up a reference for this, but to try to make it look like the fabric is kind of puddling at each step, maybe. This is only the initial sketch. I think I want to let this set before I move on to do the line art. Make sure that I'm kind of happy with all of this. I'm not sure if that takes away from these steps potentially looking like steps by obscuring the edges of the steps. I mean, when I get into coloring, I will try to add shadow to hopefully help with the layered look. Okay. So this looks like they're coming out of a doorway, I guess, in the background here. Where here, they're in front of, I don't know, at least one or two flags, maybe, which, okay, I think that's a fleur-de-lis. I think that's how you say it. In the background here behind Eric. So if that's a fleur-de-lis, then maybe that is also supposed to be a fleur-de-lis. I don't know, because the color blocking is the same, and but if this shape and that shape are supposed to be the same. I feel like, okay, this is a lot more clear than this, but I feel like even at this scale, you'd still be able to make out a fleur-de-lis pattern. But if I have this flag here to have it repeated here, I'm not sure if that makes any sense. Okay, so for sure there's another flag going on here. But this has kind of a bump out on the bottom. But the one in the background here looks like it fills the space. I mean, you can see the edge of it here, thanks to the kind of gold looking um, rim or edging, whatever. Yeah, I'm tempted to mark it here up and then try to depict the what looks like a green wall, uh, like plant wall, whatever, behind it. Or if I should have it come all the way to the drape and up. But if I do that, there's like a ribbon detail that looks like it goes along the bottom and kind of frames this almost shield looking um banner. I mean, I could take this one out and put it here. Putting in um indications for this rug here in front of the stairs. I'll be right back. Okay, I need to decide how I want to finish this background here and potentially look up some more references. So I think what I'm going to do for right now is I'm going to end this one here, go look up some more references, and try to finish this and potential, well, yeah. Um, but yeah, this is what I was able to sketch out. Hopefully you guys can see that. Um, yeah, if you'd like to see the progression of this, please make sure that you're following me and that your notifications are turned on so that you're notified for the next time I go live. But other than that, thank you to anybody who watched or watches. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you. Bye.